Good morning from the Canine Concierge Transport. Kathy Brooks here. And a little bit of an update, not so much it's an update on a topic, I guess you could say. It's an important topic, dog fights and breaking them up, and why, and it's another reason why it is so important to make sure that if you are entrusting your dog's care to someone, that you make sure you are doing so with a professional who has experience, who has training, depending on the scenario, has specific training to address certain situations. And it's just important. I'm not suggesting that dog altercations don't happen, because they do, even in the best managed facilities with the most well-screened dogs and most well-trained handlers. Dog altercations can happen. They're dogs. But there are a number of things that you can do to mitigate the likelihood that there will be a dog altercation when your dog is in the care of a professional. And then in terms of the person to whom you are entrusting your dog's care, it is crucial that you make sure that that person have the basic understanding, some very basic understanding, so that they can do the most important thing in breaking up a dog fight, which is preventing the fight from happening in the first place. So that's our context for today. So first and foremost, can you guarantee that dog fights will never ever happen when you have dogs in a space together? The answer to that is no. Even among my four, there are scuffles, but there's a difference between dogs scuffling and skirmishing and figuring things out in a very, very simple fashion, and a dog fight. You know, when I'm talking about a dog fight, I'm talking about a dog latching on to another dog, or really going after another dog with intent. Easily 90% of the dog fights that I've seen in public dog parks are catalyzed by the humans unwittingly, because they react in exactly the wrong way when two dogs are getting a little bullish with each other, and end up, like I said, catalyzing the very thing that they're trying to stop. I'm not going to go into detail right now on specifically what to do to break up a dog fight, because doing so requires some visual aid and some scenario, some context for the scenario that I can't do while I'm driving a car. I do want to debunk a couple of myths. So people talk about, oh, well, you need to pull the dog's tail or lift its hind legs, which is not inaccurate, but it requires that you have two people. Assuming two dogs in the altercation, you need two people, because you need someone doing it to each of the dogs. Because if you get one of those dogs unhooked and the other dog is pissed off enough, it is going to latch back onto the other dog and possibly onto the human. So it's something that requires multiple people to figure out. I want to talk more about preventing the fight from happening in the first place. I have, in my experience, never seen two dogs go at each other without some level of warning. Body language, vocalizations. These things will signal an attack before that attack takes place. Now, the problem is that it happens real fast. What does that mean? Hypervigilance. You need to be hypervigilant of dogs, which is why, when it comes to the professional who's watching your dog, this is where that comes in. So these dog walkers who have multiple dogs, and they may let them off leash somewhere, and it's one person, and they're in an unfenced area, and they've got multiple dogs, there is no way they can be hypervigilant about every dog in that group at all times, especially if it's a place where other groups of dogs are going to be coming and passing through. There's just no way. I've seen too many things happen. People are human. They have, limited capacity in terms of their physical ability to get point A to point B, as well as just their awareness to see what's going on. So first and foremost, when you're talking about the professional who's watching your dog, make sure, if it is a walker, that they are not walking more than, say, 2, maybe 3 dogs at a time. Make sure that if they are taking the dog somewhere where the dogs will be let off leash, that it is in a contained environment where they are aware of the other dogs that are going to be there. If they're keeping them on leash, find out where they're taking the dogs and make sure that they have a clear understanding of what to do if the dog starts presenting with body language to remove those dogs from each other. Because here's the thing. Let's say you've got someone minding your dog, and let's say another dog goes after your dog, and let's say that person, you know, A, doesn't prevent it from happening because they can't for whatever reason, and then they go to break it up improperly and they get bitten and they need to go to a doctor. That doctor is required to report, take a full report on the dogs, plural, involved in the incident. So let's just say your dog is involved in the incident, but your dog is the victim in the incident. Your dog gets reported. Because who knows, in that skirmish, in that moment of skirmish, your dog could have been involved in a bite. Impossible unless you've got video of it where you can go back and look precisely at the video, which if your dog walker's taking your dog out to some public park area, they're not going to have. It is so, so important. The number of people who are very, very well-intentioned, animal-loving, well-intentioned people who do not have the necessary skills to be minding dogs in a public setting, and the one who is going to suffer in this is going to be the dog. You know, let's say it's a dog that has a bite history. Maybe it's bitten once before in a completely unrelated type of situation, and now that dog has 2 bites on its record. What if it already has 2 bites on its record and this is the 3rd? Depending on where you are, most municipalities that have a bite rule have a 3-bite rule. 3rd bite is euthanasia. So do you really want to place your dog in a position where it could get into trouble? So how do you break up a dog fight? You prevent it from happening in the first place. This means knowing the dogs that your other dog is encountering, understanding dog body language and the signals to avoid. A wagging tail doesn't mean a friendly dog. Ears forward doesn't necessarily mean a friendly dog. A dog that's got social awkwardness and doesn't know how to greet another dog, you know, is not... Do you want to be the guinea pig? And do you want your dog to be the guinea pig? I sure don't. I sure don't. So please be cautious if you are seeking care for your dog. Somebody, and we all need it, right? Not everybody can afford sending their dog to daycare as often as they would need, and so they need to hire a dog walker. But you need to ask that person, not just for a business license showing that they have a legally licensed business in the municipality that in which they're operating, but ask for handler's permits. Ask them what training they have, what basic first aid and medical training they have. Do they know canine CPR? Do they know how to bandage a wound? Do they have a vet or a series of vets with which they have relationships where they can get a dog into care quickly? What kind of education do they have around canine behavior and group play or group interactions of dogs? If they don't have these things, you might want to think again about you know, letting them walk your dog. It's not, in today's day and age, and unfortunately not just as simple as, you know, hiring your neighbor's kid down the street and giving him $10 and having him walk your dog. The liabilities that exist are far greater. And I mean, look, I don't recall problems like this when I was growing up, but then again, I grew up in a suburb where, you know, our dog had a huge running space on the side of the house. We walked them occasionally when we were, you know, at our summer place down by the shore. We had a yard. You know, the dog got walked, but, you know, it was usually just, you know, it was usually one of my parents who did it. So it's a different kind of world today. The services that people are needing to engage for care for their dogs are far more diverse. And the good news, I mean, especially for someone like me, I mean, it was easy for me to get into the industry because the barrier to entry was a relatively low one. But then it is incumbent upon the individual who enters the industry with no experience to get themselves the knowledge and education they need. And that is a daily task. I am learning new things, you know, on a daily and weekly basis. I'm constantly taking online courses and talking to other professionals and learning new handling skills. and anyone who is minding your dog who is not doing that, you know, the statistics, the odds are that your dog is going to be fine. The likelihood is that your dog is going to be fine. The number of times something goes wrong is small, but it exists. The question that I would pose to you is, are you willing to be wrong once when your dog's safety is at stake? I'm not. So, that is my rant for today. That is my rant for the day. So, questions, comments, concerns, post them as always, and have a great day.